to the Crow's Nest, the official podcast of Candace Crowe Design. I'm TK Crowe.
And I'm Candace Crowe.
She's my mom.
And a proud one. The purpose of our podcast is to introduce you to people and tools that can make your life simpler and help your practice grow. In this podcast, we'll be getting to know Michael Lewis, account executive at Open Practice, and Sean Mahoney from 4D EMR.
Open Practice, an integration partner of 4D EMR, offers a fully integrated system that can automate billing and accounts receivable and produce extensive reports to help you better manage your organization. We hope you enjoy it. Happy listening. Well, hello and welcome to the Crow's Nest. Today we have two wonderful guests, Sean Mahoney from 4D EMR and Michael Lewis from Open Practice. Sean, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at 4D?
Yes, thanks TK. Happy to be here. I serve as Vice President of Sales for 4D EMR and have been in the plastic surgery industry in the sales role, sales or marketing, for the past 20 years or so.
Thank you. Awesome. Incredible, Sean. I know I've seen you a good bit on these podcasts, and I got to meet you for the first time in person, even though it felt like I had seen you, I don't know, at least a 1,000 times on the screen, so you felt very familiar. And yes. Meeting for the first time today is Michael Lewis of Open Practice. Michael, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role over at Open Practice?
Yeah, thanks for the intro, TK. I'm excited to join the podcast with everyone today and join the conversation. As TK stated, my name is Michael Lewis. I'm with Open Practice. I've been here since 2011, so about 12 or 13 years now. Spent the first couple of years working on the clearinghouse side of the house, working with EDI, studying claims and rejections, working with customers to correct those. And for about the past 9 or 10 years, I've been on the Open Practice billing software side of the house, which we're probably going to dive into a little bit of both of those concepts today, I'm sure, in dialogue. But yeah, again, excited to join the conversation and happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. And just to clear up for anybody that might be confused on why we had these two guests today is that Open Practice and 4D EMR are integration partners. And maybe, Sean, you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So to tell you a little bit about 4D, we are a true cloud EMR focused specifically on aesthetic practices. Many of our customers, though, do require insurance billing capabilities, and billing is a highly complex and very specialized industry. It can be scary for some, and for us, rather than focusing on putting our development team on developing a module for processing insurance billing, which unfortunately is a common theme in the EMR space, it's really hard to focus on being an EMR and a billing solution. So we wanted to partner with a company whose only focus is billing. So OpenPM has been fantastic in that regard. They too are US based like we are, and they are a cloud solution also. So the way this works is that 4D provides OpenPM patient information, coding, and other components that are required to begin the claims process. And then OpenPM will kind of take it from there, and at various points in the process provide 4D with the necessary status of the claims. They'll also provide payment details, patient balances due, that type of thing, back in the EMR, so that you have visibility to that in the EMR. And the two platforms just work really well together.
That's wonderful. Self-pay is so different than like maybe a hospital or something like that. And when you specialize really in the aesthetic industry, it so intimately that you've got, the specific needs of your clients addressed then. Don't let me take the stage here from you, Michael. I know that you want to speak a bit about the partnership.
Yeah. To piggyback off of Sean's comments, it's been a great partnership to date so far. And as Sean was saying, 4D, where they specialize and they're laser focused on the clinical software and keeping the providers happy and all of the back office users of the EMR. And then where OpenPM comes in is we're just laser focused on the billing software. As Sean said, it's really hard for a single vendor to be really good and really strong at both of those, you've really got to put the attention on the clinical software and the billing side. And my personal experience, what I've seen in the 11, 12, 13 years I've been with the company is it's very much clinical driven. The providers are making the decisions naturally, right? They're the clinic owners in most cases. So they want to find a software that's going to really meet their needs, and it's efficient and it's not slowing them down. But the billing software is really what keeps the cash flow going and the revenue going. So you really got to have some attention there as well. And it's really been fun because, again, 4D, they do all the clinical workflows. We don't handle any of that. And we really focus on what we're experts on, which is the billing software. And when you plug them together, it really does provide a very streamlined, efficient solution. As Sean was saying, just the information that we share together, patient information, balance information, charge information, it really allows the users as well to just live in their one area of the system. So you have a back office person, they're typically working alongside the providers, they're in the EMR. They don't need to really toggle over to the billing software, and vice versa is true for the billers. By integrating the softwares efficiently, that biller can really just live in the billing system. They're not bouncing around to the EMR to look at the chart or to look at certain pieces of information. We can bring all that in, and we can share the critical components back to the EMR as well for the providers or the back office team. So it really does provide that efficient solution, but also just streamlines the workflow and keeps users in one area. Everybody hates mouse clicks, and I know providers are always counting the mouse clicks on how many clicks does it take to document this or to get to this area or to see a patient. So if we can minimize those mouse clicks and screens that they have to jump to, they're going to be more efficient and everyone's happy.
Absolutely. So I can tell you're super passionate about open practice. You know it very, very well. So let's do this. Let's take what you just said and put it in one concise sentence of what you do and how you serve your clients. One really sentence, maybe a mission or something like that, so it's very clear.
I think the mission for open practice when it comes to our customers is to really provide a single streamlined solution. There's no duplicate data entry. They're living in one area of a software and they're not having to log into multiple systems or jump into multiple systems in general to do their work. So I think combining a clinical software, a billing software, and wrapping in the clearinghouse component really does streamline those efficiencies and make sure users aren't having to waste mouse clicks in areas that they really don't need to.
And I don't want to jump on that, or jump in the middle of what you were saying there, Michael, but I do want to emphasize, you keep mentioning efficiency. And I think that's one thing that has really stood out to me about OpenPM is that, and I just want to say this now, OpenPM is both a software and a clearinghouse solution, and both teams are in the same building together, in the United States, and it's a very seamless kind of experience on the billing side. And that's the feedback we get from our practices.
It sounds like that might be something that separates OpenPM from some of the other billing providers in this space. Is that accurate, Michael?
Yeah, I think so. I think one of the most unique things about our software is the fact that we have the clearinghouse component built in, and users, billers, they're not leaving OpenPM to log into the clearinghouse. So a lot of vendors, that's the biller workflow. They key the charge into their billing software, they generate the claim, and then they're taking that claim file to their clearinghouse, logging into the clearinghouse, uploading it, and then it's being delivered to all the insurances. So you have that extra step, extra kind of software where you're logging in, doing some action, right? Taking some action step of actually uploading the claims, and then tomorrow you're likely logging back into the clearinghouse to make sure that claim was accepted and delivered properly. And we just take that kind of, I call it the middleman, but we just take it out of the equation, and it's just right on the home screen. Just right on the home screen in OpenPM, you can see all of those claim statuses, and if there's something wrong, about it literally within minutes. Whereas with these other systems where you've got a bolted on clearinghouse, it's, depending on when you upload your claims, you may not know about rejections until the next day or 24 hours later. And we really kind of just speed up that processing time.
That's incredible. So has it always been has OpenPM always been that way? Have you always had your own internal clearinghouse, or is that something that you guys saw a need for and pulled it in?
Yeah, so it actually, the clearinghouse came first. The clearinghouse was a separate company back in 1999 was when they first got started. OpenPM, Open Practice came around about 5 or 6 years later. 2005 was when was our inception. We're technically separate companies. The clearinghouse does sell their services to other avenues, but to use OpenPM, right? It's really, I always joke, but half jokingly say it, that it is the kind of the engine under the hood, or the ground floor of OpenPM that really allows us to streamline and automate a lot of the billing efforts.
Very cool. Very cool.
So the options for choosing how you're going to manage your billing when you use 4D EMR, there's got to be at least 3 options. Sean, you want to address that, and then maybe Mike, you can follow up.
Sure, I'll do my best, and then Mike, you can clarify for me. But
Sure.
really, I think there are but there are really primarily 2 ways to handle this. It would be practice managed, or it would be working with a third-party biller who is sort of the conduit, who uses both, who uses OpenPM to manage. And I think that the beauty of that is, say for practices who kind of like the idea of self-managing from an efficiency standpoint, but really don't have the time, the bandwidth, or the expertise to do it, they can hire a third-party biller who utilizes OpenPM, which will give the practice transparency into the process. They'll be able to log into OpenPM, see what's going on with their claims, but they don't have the stress of actually processing those claims. And when you work with a third-party biller whose entire reason for being is to maximize your claims, they're essentially going to pay for themselves. At least that's the idea, is that because of the nature of their understanding the intricacies of claims management, they're going to be able to maximize claims much better than a practice trying to do it themselves. Michael, I'm sure you can clarify that for us.
Yeah, and I would agree with your comment, Sean. The billing company, that revenue cycle management company, or billing company, as you'll hear them called, they do a great job, right? That's what they do. They have a team of billers and experts as part of their team. So they will come in and they will help these independent practices that, don't have an in-house biller, or maybe they just lost their biller. They can, hire these RCM companies, billing companies, and they can come in right away, day one, and just take things over. Most of these billing companies, they're fluent in the billing softwares and multiple billing softwares that are out there, so they can usually jump right in day one, take over, and the revenue's not missing a beat. And those are the companies that very early on in open practice days, OpenPM's days, we targeted those companies. We wanted to get in front of a billing company, an RCM company that was using a variety of different systems, and really allow them to streamline that and bring all of their customers into a more efficient, specifically designed software, OpenPM, for those billing customers. And then you plug in the EHR and everything just starts to just flow very smoothly. And now you're hands off on a lot of these different things. But one of the really powerful things of hiring a billing company or a revenue cycle company, as Sean was saying, is, again, this is their expertise. So when a provider documents something or charts something incorrectly, a lot of times they can catch those errors and mistakes and make sure things are getting built out appropriately.
So it sounds like a great partnership, where, you help each other, both softwares help each other be better together. But can you tell me a little bit about the backstory of how you decided to become partners?
Well, that's kind of part of the story, is a third-party group, billing group, actually introduced us several years ago.
That was John?
Yes, John Gwynn with Octus Group. And, his group does specialize, and something to point out here too is, I know that OpenPM is scalable to, grandiose sizes of providers. And, whereas at 4D EMR, because we're aesthetic focused, while our system is certainly scalable, we typically work with smaller practices because that is, by and large, what you find in the plastic surgery industry are single, to 4 or 5 provider practices for the most part, kind of in that number. And John's group over at Octus, they have a lot of plastic surgery clients. So that's how we, got introduced.
Wonderful. I'm glad for that.
Michael, you had provided us with a medical billing workflow that I thought we might be able to talk through a little bit, and I'm just going to pull that up.
Even if you're just listening and not watching, it's helpful to have this graphic in front of us to be able to go through it. And maybe later you can come back and you'll see the graphic in the show notes.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite slides. It kind of just walks you through a typical patient visit or appointment, if you will. So if you look at this illustration and we look in the top left corner, so 4D EMR, patient registered and appointment scheduled, that's usually the start of a patient visit, right? They're contacting the clinic, the practice, they're getting registered, they're getting their appointment or their surgery scheduled. Obviously, there's some authorization potentially and some things that go into that ahead of time, but we schedule the appointment, get them registered. When that visit happens, right, the documentation is happening inside of 4D. And then really every step along the way, every little bubble there is a streamlined workflow. So that charge comes into OpenPM, that incomplete charge review, that could be a biller that goes in there and starts scrubbing that claim for accuracy, or we can leverage some of our software scrubbing itself. So we do have some charge management rules, as we call them, that will scrub the claim for accuracy so that if we don't want a biller to have a hands-on interaction at that point, they don't have to. So that claim gets scrubbed. If it's clean, goes right to the clearinghouse, goes through an extra layer of scrubbing onto the payer, then the payments start to come in. So we get the insurance payment into our system. If it's a clean payment, it just automatically will post into our system. No one, again, has to get involved or touch that. Once you post that payment, a lot of times the patient has a outstanding balance now, or they have some portion that is their responsibility, and we can automatically queue up the statement to the patient. And when we send that statement to the patient, it could be traditional print mail with QR codes and links on there for the patient to pay online, or we could send an e-statement, a text message to the patient where they could click and make a payment. So you can see the next bubble there, the patient pays online, and that payment will automatically post in OpenPM, zero out their balance. Nobody has to touch that. So again, that really what we're trying to accomplish and what we can bring to the table with 4D and OpenPM and our clearinghouse is that full automation of that patient visit. So after the documentation happens, if it's a clean claim that's leaving the system, technically no user has to interact with it whatsoever. And that really, why that's important is that it just allows the billers to really focus on those more pressing items, the higher dollar amount claims or rejections or denials, and really just focusing on making sure we're getting reimbursed what we should be getting reimbursed, rather than looking at the CPT code on every claim individually, for example.
That's wonderful. We're getting close on time, but I want to just quickly go through the data breach that just recently was in the news, and how your clients are protected from something like that happening. Yeah,
definitely scary times that I think probably everybody listening, it probably impacted you in some way, right? The data breach that occurred, I think just about, and I think just about every clearinghouse that's out there utilizes them in some capacity, or every software out there utilizes them in some capacity. The beauty is, since we have our own clearinghouse, we were able, when that happened and that news broke, we were able to very quickly pivot and either reroute those claims directly to some of the carriers where we weren't going directly before, or we were able to reroute those through some other clearinghouse channel to make sure those claims were getting processed, cash flow wasn't impacted. But again, I know everybody had they were feeling some pain from that, unfortunately, but our clients, we were able to pivot pretty quickly and reroute a lot of those claims through other channels, and just hoping we are all better off coming out of this as an industry as a whole is my optimism. So
Wonderful. TK?
Awesome. Yeah, so I think we've covered a lot, and I was just wondering, Michael, if you had any, closing points for a small plastic surgery practice that might be considering using a billing service or possibly even OpenPM, what you might tell them.
Yeah, it's I would say let's, for groups that I first get engaged with, I always like to look at their current software operations. Are they using multiple vendors? If so, that's definitely something we can help consolidate with our 4D partnership. I would also look at just where their users are spending a lot of time. If they see any bottlenecks with user workflows, or we're spending a lot of time every day reviewing charges or doing things manually, perfect opportunity to just look at those operations and see, is there something out there that can help streamline it and provide a more efficient workflow, so that your team they're not spending the time all day doing those mundane tasks. Let's try to streamline those a little bit and really focus on the higher pressing, higher dollar amount items.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah, good tips. Anything you'd like to leave the audience with, Sean?
Just that if we've got some current 4D customers who are managing billing another way, I know change is always hard, but it's always good to know what's out there. So we've got a great relationship with Mike's team over at OpenPM. And if anyone would like to see, how the integration works, what might be different with OpenPM, I would highly suggest, contact me. I'll connect you with their team, so that you can see a demo, and we can also walk through on our end how our software works. It's on the topic of efficiency. It's really something that's worth seeing. So I would encourage people to reach out to me.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. We will have all the contact details in the show notes, and we appreciate you all being here on the podcast with us, and we'll call it a close at that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks all.